Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome back to the Spiritually Wired podcast. So we're going to go a little free flow style today, meaning that I just felt like pressing record and coming to you with a topic that I've just been thinking about a lot, and that is stepping out of your comfort zone. So I was just recently at an event, the Heartwired CEO live event, and absolutely such a beautiful weekend organized by my dear friends, Marsha Van Weinsberg, Megan Weir. They're both friends of the podcast, have both been on the podcast. And it was just truly such a beautiful, very expansive weekend, which are my favorite. I'm such a believer in putting yourself in rooms and being with other people who are on that just the same path, right? People who get you, because so much of, if you are listening to this and you're a business owner or you are someone who is feeling like there is something that you are meant to do and you may not know what it is yet, but there's just this feeling from within that there's something more. And you are open to maybe figuring out what that is, then you are going to relate to this episode today, because so much of our growth, it's really comes down to stepping out of your comfort zone. When we were at the event, Alex Street, who is such a gifted speaker, and he's actually a coach for speakers. So he was speaking on stage. And one of the things that he started out by saying is just how uncomfortable it is for anyone to be on stage, but even for him, who that's what he does for a living. He's been speaking for a long time, and he coaches other speakers, but that no matter what the level of experience you have, whenever you're putting yourself out there, either in a new way or it's with a new group of people, there's so much unknown in anything that you're doing that is new. That's part of why it feels so uncomfortable, is that there's no guaranteed outcome. So maybe, yes, there's something that is letting you up, something that you want to do, but there's no guarantee at the end of the day. If you start a business, you don't know where it's going to take you. That's the reality of it. There's no guarantee. And that is part of why it's very uncomfortable, and it may not be for everyone. But when he shared that on stage, it was just that reminder, because, you look at Alex and he's very confident and he's up there and he's delivering, just such a great speech, but he's doing it. And for most people in the room, we're looking at him thinking, oh, it's easy for him. He's gifted at speaking. And so we just make the assumption that that's for him, but it's different for me. And when he just said that, it just reminded me of, and I always appreciate when people are willing to be vulnerable, because it just reminded me myself that when I also, because I can also get caught up in that, right? You go into a room and then you look around and there's people that just seemingly have it all together, and the assumption is always that it might be easier for them because they have this special gift that you don't have. And so the confidence is coming from a place that is again, like just something that's special to them. And so if I've learned anything doing all of this work and being someone who I've been showing up in big ways. And let me just say that I have been the most uncomfortable than I have ever been. And it's not because it's not for me. Like, that's the thing that I know now. It's that if you are on a path of you are here to grow, you are here to do big things, you're continuously going to be pushing your comfort zone. That's part of the deal. And so it becomes less about what feels comfortable to you. So how do we step out of the comfort zone? I guess is where I'm getting to. This is where it's a free flow episode, so I'm just letting it roll. But what it comes down to is a willingness. And that goes for so much in life. But what I'm realizing so much is that it's not about who's the most comfortable out there, who's the most gifted, who's the most talented. It's who is willing to show up with the discomfort. So anytime you've got big goals, or they don't even have to be big, quite honestly, anytime you are wanting to create a new outcome in life, in business, it can be in your health, it can be in whatever area of your life, in your relationships, that means that you are wanting to create something that is different than what exists now, which means that you are going to have to do something that is different than what you are doing now. And likely there's friction there. Likely there's discomfort, because if the discomfort wasn't present, then you probably would already be doing it. So there's a reason why you're not doing it. So there's some form of tension, there's some discomfort. And so it's less about becoming comfortable with it. It's more about, am I willing to be in the discomfort? And of course, the more that you show up in the discomfort, the more that it becomes comfortable, right? If you think of an elastic and you're just pulling on it, and you have this really firm elastic, but then the more that you work it, the more that it softens, the easier that it becomes. And so it's the same thing in life. The more that we are willing to do something that feels uncomfortable, over time, the friction lessens and it becomes more comfortable. And then guess what? You're going to be stretching yourself in new ways. There's going to be something else. Maybe, if we come back to the example of speaking, maybe you're more comfortable speaking, but now you're going to speak and share a message that might feel a little uncomfortable. And that's where the discomfort is coming from, because now you're showing something, a new part of yourself. And that's what happened for me this weekend. It was really interesting because when I speak and when I am leading or teaching, it's always been more in the role of being a meditation teacher, a spiritual teacher, a mindset coach. And so there's a very grounded energy, and I am known for my grounded energy. And I know that that is a big part of who I am and what I bring in rooms. It's something that it's part of me. And I also have this other side of me, which is fun. I like to have a good time. I like to dance. I love to dance. I love to laugh and be silly and bring a sense of humor. And those parts have been less public, right? They've been more part of the way I show up with my friends and with my family and the people that are close to me. And it's not actually, I do show up in that way in my membership, but again, it's like more closed with my clients. They get to see all of it. But in a more quote public setting, it's been different. Not because I'm hiding though, because that's part of, if you listen to my very first podcast episode, it was all about stepping out, coming out of this spiritual closet. So this isn't because I felt that I'm hiding parts of me. It's just, certain rooms require certain energies and a certain way of showing up. So when I was asked to MC this event, part of the vision, so part of I knew my role, which I took so seriously, was supporting the vision that my friends, that Marsha and Meg had for this event. And what they were asking me to do was to hold the energy for it. When you're doing intense work and people are sitting and they're listening, and it was, beautiful. There's so much goodness in that event. In between me holding spaces, I knew that it wasn't about breath work. It wasn't about doing a meditation. What we all needed was high energy. And that high energy meant that I was doing it. I was on stage. I was dancing. I was in the crowd dancing, bringing the energy level up. And it felt really good. So good. And it also felt uncomfortable because I was showing a different side of who I am. And the interesting thing is, I am, a lot of the work that I do, I focus on living your soul's purpose, because I do believe that our soul is here for a reason. And what our soul's purpose is to be the fullest expression of who we are. So it's not about a certain job. It's not about a certain title or a certain role. And that's been the part that's liberated me. It's freed me so much, because it's, yes, my only purpose here is to be who I am, but to not hold back, to be the fullest expression of who I am. And being the fullest expression of who I am now, like that opportunity, that experience showed me something a little bit different. It showed me that, okay, maybe I actually do get to bring more of that side to the stage. And it was a little bit, I'm going to use the word destabilizing. It was a little bit destabilizing. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because when we are doing anything that's out of our comfort zone, that's new, that's different, because we're wanting to create a different outcome. We're moving towards a vision that we have. It requires a willingness to be with the discomfort in the moment. But then what that means is, if you stretch to yourself, the discomfort is going to stay with you after. I sometimes call that like the vulnerability hangover. And I've experienced that, and I used to experience it in big ways where, if I was going to do something, I was always like very uncomfortable, even doing videos. It's crazy how far I've come with that. Like I couldn't even do a reel on social media or Instagram. Anytime there was a video, I would get so nervous. I don't know if it was the fear of being seen. I think it was like just fear of, I was in my head. I was just in my head trying to find the right words. And where things opened up for me was when I let go of, it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't need the right words. I just need to show up, and being willing to be imperfect and to do it just whatever, just trusting. Like even this here, I'm not saying that there's a part of me that's not thinking maybe I'm going to have to push stop and re-record the whole thing because, after the fact, I'm going to think of like better ways that I could have shared it. But I've really worked at letting that go. However, there is absolutely no doubt that whenever you're going to step out of your comfort zone, you feel it in the moment, but you also feel it after. There's a lingering effect that happens after. And so if you're going to the gym and you're going to work out, when you're doing something out of your comfort zone, it's like a workout for your nervous system capacity, for your just your soul capacity in some ways. You're showing up and you're stretching that limit of what feels safe, what feels comfortable. So this weekend, when I'm on stage and I'm dancing and people are coming to me that don't know me from before, or maybe it was their first time, and then they're like, hey, great, wow, you're such a great MC, you're so good at bringing the energy up. It was so interesting because I'm thinking, oh, now that's how you see me. And the next day, I felt so good about everything, but I was also very emotional. I was emotional because, again, it felt a little destabilizing. Like, wow, okay, I did something new. I stretched myself in a new way. And now I'm not sure where I'm landing. It's like the footing of who I am, my identity, what I feel comfortable with sharing and being publicly in the way of being seen that way, it shifted now. And so just like when you're on those Bosu balls upside down and you've got your feet and you're working on your balance, that's how it felt. I felt a little like unstable. And that is part of what happens when you are stepping out of your comfort zone. It's, again, not just in the moment, but it's also after. There is time that we need to give ourselves to honor so much grace, so much love. Boy, does it require love and grace. We were on a mastermind call in the Spiritually Wired Mastermind, and one of the members was just sharing how she had set some really strong boundaries and how it felt good, but also how difficult it was to say no to people that she loved. And that's how it works, right? When we're setting boundaries, when we're protecting our peace and we're saying no, it's destabilizing as well, because it means that you have to be willing to be uncomfortable saying no, because when you're going to say no, people are going to potentially be upset with that, because especially if you've been saying yes all the time and now all of a sudden you're saying no, it can feel uncomfortable, because now you have to be willing to be with the discomfort of what that means. And then also staying with it. So it goes beyond it, because then there's also more opportunities where it means holding that boundary. So it goes beyond it. So you've stretched yourself in a new way, which is good, is something that is supporting you. Then there's the little ripple that happens in the moment and then going beyond. So I've really been sitting with that and just wanted to share this here, because so much of what I believe in is just transparency and being open. I just think we need so much more conversations around this, because I've been in this place where I've thought, oh, she's so confident. She knows it's easy for her. And now what I'm recognizing is, no, it's not comfortable for anyone. If there's people that you're admiring, that you're looking and you're saying, wow, like she's doing or he's doing big things, first of all, that is showing you something, that there's something about it that's resonating with you. So it's always good to notice, always good to pay attention, but also to just recognize that it is a willingness. It's a willingness to be uncomfortable. Now that goes to, just this last piece that I wanted to share, is because it can feel like, well, why? Why do I have to be uncomfortable? Why can't I live my life in comfort? Do I have to push myself? Do I have to stretch myself in those ways? Isn't there something to be said for living in comfort? And I bring this up because I feel like I'm off. I can also be in that tension, in that place of, and it feels good to be comfortable. So two things about that. First of all, is I believe that when you have a desire. And I use the word calling often because that's what it feels like. I know for me doing this work, it feels like a calling. I remember my husband one time saying, like, do you have to do all of this? Like, is there, you don't have to do this. There's different things you could be doing, because he could see me like working so hard. And sometimes, yes, even though I teach nervous system regulation and meditation and being in the moment, it also gets to me. He's like, you don't have to do this. And and I'm like, yes, I know I don't have to. Yet it also feels like I do have to, if that makes sense. So there's a part of me, a calling that's there, that I know when I don't answer it, when I let myself be and I'm not pursuing this work, that doesn't feel right either. So everyone is unique. Everyone is absolutely, we all have our different ways. So what feels good for me is not what's going to feel good for you. However, what I'm sharing is that when you have this nudge, when you have a calling, then it is a part of why you are here. It's a part of your soul's purpose. So you wouldn't have a dream that's not meant for you. If you're seeing someone on stage and it's triggering you, and sometimes it's like in a good way where you feel inspired and you're like, wow, I want to do that. And sometimes it can feel not so good, almost as if there's like a jealous energy to it. And it's not, it really is just your wiring. It's the way in which you are, but it's showing you, the way your emotions are showing you, that there's something about that is calling you, but maybe you're just not ready to see it. So that would be my invitation. If the calling is there, if you are wanting to do something that feels so out of your comfort zone, like it is way out of your comfort zone, but for some reason, either it's calling you or there's also tension around it, then it's always an invitation to be like, oh, why am I feeling so triggered in this moment? Why is that upsetting me? And that invitation, when we are willing to be with the discomfort of what we're feeling in those moments, that there's so much that we can learn from that. So I don't believe that you would be having the calling if it wasn't meant for you. I think that is something that is so important to understand. And the other piece that I wanted to share as well is that we're also not here to push ourselves all the time. It's not about always being in the discomfort. And so this has been such a big piece for me, is recognizing that we have seasons. So, this summer was actually very introspective for me. It was very quiet. It wasn't by choice. Life happened, and the way in which life happened, I, was definitely asked, or my body asked me to take a step back. And I gave myself so much quiet time and more reflective time. It was very different. And then the fall came, and when the fall came, there was a lot going on. But because I had had this quiet time, I knew that I was also preparing myself. And now I'm so grateful that this summer happened in the way it did, because it's almost like I was building my energy. Fall happened, and as you know, shared on the podcast, I had a big birthday, and there was a lot going on with it, which was so much fun. And then it was event season, so there's been so many different events, and I was finishing a certification, and then more events, some traveling, 2 trips. So it's been nonstop. And also nonstop in terms of like pushing myself. I've done things in my business that were very new, very uncomfortable. And now I can feel myself. It's like, okay, it's time to go back within. I'm still going to be showing up for work. I'm still going to be doing the things, but in a different way. So that is the second piece to it that I think is so important, is recognizing that there's seasons. And so part of our work is learning to work with those seasons. It's not about always, because right now I do feel stretched and I do feel tired and I do feel like, okay, my body needs rest. And now I know that what I'm craving right now is solitude. I need time for me. There's a big project I'm working on that requires more time, where I know that I need to prioritize stillness more. It's time to shut things down. Again, I'm still showing up, but now I'm very intentional with, I am here. I'm not here to consume right now. I'm not consuming stuff. I just need time for me. So recognizing where you're at, working with it so that it's fluid. Life is fluid always. And so you get to love yourself. Loving yourself means sometimes pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Loving yourself means recognizing when it's time to rest, to come back, to regroup, right? To reset. So there you go. I am so incredibly grateful for all of the experiences that I've had that have shown me what it feels like, because now I feel really, what's the word? I just feel super grounded in what it means. And I have a different appreciation for where I'm at today and where I'm going. And I know that it's not where I'm going is going to be even more stretching, even more being out of my comfort zone. But I also don't feel the pressure to push myself there. I know that it's happening, and I know that the way in which it's going to happen is by giving myself the time to be, okay, I'm open. It's like the wave in the ocean, like you see the wave, but then the wave comes back in, and then, the wave goes out and then it comes back in. So there's a movement, and there's always movement forward, but it's not this constant thing, because that does not work. So I hope you feel a little inspired to maybe do something where you are stretching yourself, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. I am just sending you so much love. I'm so grateful that you're here. And I want to remind you that you are spiritually wired for peace, for love, for success, for growth, for expansion. I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.